Essay 705, which is modifications to the opinion of the independent audit report. It deals with format and content of audit report in case auditor wants to give modified opinion. Now, scope of Essay 705. See, Essay 705 deals with form and content of audit report if auditor wants to give modified opinion. The same point. Types of audit opinions. See, previously in Essay 700 we have discussed that there are two types of audit opinions: unmodified opinion, modified opinion. Unmodified opinion we have covered in Essay 705. Modified opinion now we'll cover. Now if you see this modified opinion, it is again of three types. See, first of all, unmodified opinion as per Essay 700. Next, modified opinion, it can be of qualified or adverse or disclaimer. These are the three types of modified opinions. Now in this entire chapter we will be discussing in which situation which type of modified opinion will be given. See, situations when modified opinion is given. See, auditor will give modified opinion when based on his audit evidence, if auditor comes to a conclusion that financial statements are not showing true and fair view, or there are misstatements in the financial statements. See, based on audit evidence, financial statements are not free from material misstatements, or auditor is not able to obtain audit evidence to conclude that financial statements are free from material misstatements. Okay, in these two situations, auditor will give modified opinion. Which type of modified opinion, that we will see. Okay, but basically if any of these two situations is present, auditor will modify his opinion. Okay, see, if auditor expects to modify or include emphasis of matter or other matter paragraph in his audit report, he has obligation to communicate the same to those charged with governance. Okay, whenever auditor wants to give modified opinion or auditor wants to express emphasis of matter or other matter paragraph in the audit report, he is having responsibility to communicate the same to those charged with governance. Those charged with governance, I am giving modified opinion in my audit report. This is the reason. Like this, you have to communicate with those charged with governance. Okay. Where this point is told, it is told in Essay 260, communication with those with governance. Okay, next, understanding the term pervasiveness. Now, before discussing the situations in which qualified opinion will be given, adverse opinion will be given, disclaimer of opinion will be given. Okay, before understanding those situations, you have to understand one particular term, that is pervasiveness. Okay, what is meant by pervasiveness? Now here in this context we will be using the term pervasiveness with respect to the misstatements. Okay, pervasiveness of misstatements, that means pervasiveness means spread all over. Okay, spread across various items is known as pervasiveness. Okay, pervasiveness means not present in a single item. Okay, it is spread across the various items. That means misstatements are pervasive, means misstatements are present across the financial statements. Okay, various items have been misstated. Okay, there is misstatements in fixed assets, there is misstatements in current assets, there is misstatements in sales, there is misstatements in purchases. Like this, misstatements are in various items. Then you will call that misstatements are pervasive. Hope that is clear. Or another situation, misstatement is only in one item, but that single item represents a majority portion of financial statements. Let's take for example balance sheet. Okay, there are misstatements in inventory. Okay, only in the inventory there are misstatements, but inventory constitutes 80% of the total assets of the entity. Now in this situation, even though only one item is misstated, but that misstatement is pervasive because that item itself represents most of the financial statement, right? Hope that is clear. That is known as a pervasiveness. Pervasiveness means present across various items. See, describes the effect of misstatements or possible misstatements on the financial statements. In relation to amounts, they are not confined to specific element, account or items of financial statements. If so contained, represents a substantial portion. That means misstatement is in not in one particular item, okay, misstatement is in various items, then you will call it as pervasiveness. Or misstatement is in one item only, but that one item represent majority portion of the financial statement, then also you will call the misstatement as pervasiveness. Okay, the same example that I have given you. Next, in relation to disclosures, if that are fundamental to users understanding of the financial statements. Okay, if you have not properly made the disclosures that are fundamental to the users understanding of the financial statements, then you will say that there are misstatements in the disclosures. Okay, now determining the type of modified opinion. Now, in order to determine which type of modified opinion you will give, you have to remember three terms. What are they? First of all, whether audit evidence is available or not, you have to check this point. Next, whether misstatements are material or not, this is the second point that you need to check. Third point, whether the misstatements are pervasive or not, this is the third point you need to check. Okay, based on the answers that you get for these 3 points, you will decide which type of modified opinion has to be given. Let us see. Now, availability of audit evidence, that is the first point that you need to check. Next, is misstatement material? Next, is misstatement pervasive? Okay, based on the answers that you get to these 3 questions, you will decide which type of modified opinion has to be given. See, type of modified opinions. If audit evidence is available, yes, and the misstatement that you have identified is material, yes, it is material, but the misstatement is not pervasive, in this situation you will give qualified opinion. Okay, next, evidence is not available, you are not having evidence, but if at all there are any misstatements, those misstatements will be only material but not pervasive. In this situation also you will give qualified opinion. Okay, next, audit evidence is available, and based on the audit evidence you have concluded that misstatements are material as well as pervasive, then you will give adverse opinion. Okay, next, audit evidence is not available, but auditor concludes that if at all there are any misstatements, those misstatements will be both material as well as pervasive. In this situation, auditor will give disclaimer of opinion. Hope this is clear. Okay, you can determine which type of modified opinion has to be given with the help of this chart. Okay, you can just take a screenshot of this chart. Okay, next, now when you give unmodified opinion, the format is as per SA 700, right? If you modify your opinion, then some of the paragraphs of the audit report will get affected. You have to change the terminologies of some of the paragraphs. So because of modification of your opinion, what paragraphs of the audit report are getting affected? Let's see. First of all, obviously opinion paragraph will get affected because you are modifying the opinion. So opinion paragraph will be affected. See, opinion paragraph will be affected. Now, after opinion paragraph, even basis for opinion paragraph also will get affected, right? See, basis for opinion paragraph will also get affected. After that, auditor's responsibility paragraph will also get affected if you are giving disclaimer of opinion. Okay, see, auditor's responsibility paragraph will also get affected if you are giving disclaimer of opinion. Okay, only if you give disclaimer of opinion, then auditor's responsibility paragraph will also get affected. Okay, so because of giving a modified opinion, these are the paragraphs that are being affected. Now we will see how they will get affected. Okay, so wordings of qualified opinion. So first type of modified opinion, which is qualified opinion. If the auditor wants to give qualified opinion, then how the wordings of that opinion will look like? Here auditor will use the wordings stating that except for the matter described in basis for matter paragraph, all other financial statement, okay, all other items of financial statements are showing a true and fair view. Like this the auditor will say, okay, except for the matter, because auditor will give qualified opinion when misstatements are not pervasive. That means only one item is misstated in such, okay, one means not exactly one, only some items are misstated, okay, it is not pervasive, then auditor will be qualified. So auditor's opinion is qualified only with respect to these items, okay. So he uses the terminology except for the matters described in basis for qualified opinion paragraph, financial statements are showing a true and fair view, okay. If the financial reporting framework that has been used is fair presentation framework, okay. See, except for the effects of matter described in the basis for qualified opinion section, when you are using fair presentation framework, you will state that, okay, you will state that the accompanying financial statements are present fairly in all material respects, okay. If you are using compliance framework, then you will say except for the matters described in the basis for qualified opinion paragraph, the financial statements have been prepared as per the applicable financial reporting framework. See, the accompanying financial statements have been prepared in all material respects in accordance with the applicable financial reporting framework, okay. You have to use this terminology when you are following compliance framework, okay. That is the wordings of qualified opinion. Next, wordings of adverse opinion. Next, if you are giving adverse opinion, you need to remember the chart. Audit evidence available, misstatements material, and they are pervasive. That means entire financial statements are misstated. Then here you will say that financial statements, entire financial statements are not showing true and fair view. See, the auditor's opinion, because of the significance of the matter described in the basis for adverse opinion section, when reporting as per fair presentation framework, the accompanying financial statements do not present fairly in all material respects, and the accompanying financial statements have not been prepared in accordance with applicable financial reporting framework, okay, when you are using compliance framework. Hope that is clear. This is the wordings in case of adverse opinion. Next, if you give disclaimer of opinion, wordings of disclaimer paragraph, when the auditor disclaims an opinion due to inability to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, then the auditor shall state that auditor does not express opinion on the financial statements. See, disclaimer of opinion means you are not claiming any opinion, that is known as disclaimer of opinion, okay. You are not claiming any opinion, that means you are not giving any opinion. So in the opinion paragraph, you have to tell that auditor does not express any opinion on the financial statements. Why? Because he cannot obtain audit evidence and the misstatements are material and pervasive, okay. If at all there are any misstatements, those misstatements will be material and pervasive. Because of this, I am not able to express my opinion, okay. You have to mention this, that auditor does not express any opinion on the financial statements. Next, state that because of the significance of the matter described in the basis for disclaimer of opinion section, the auditor has not been able to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, okay. You have to clearly mention, because of the matter that I have described in the basis for disclaimer of opinion, I am not able to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, okay. You have to mention this point in the opinion paragraph if you give disclaimer of opinion. Next, amend the statement required by SA 700, which indicates that financial statements have been audited, to state that auditor was engaged to audit the financial statements. Now if you see, as per SA 700, in the opinion paragraph, you will include a particular point stating that these financial statements have been audited, okay. This point we will include, I guess, second point, right? In opinion paragraph of SA 700, we have discussed the auditor should mention a statement saying that these financial statements have been audited. Now if you give disclaimer of opinion, you are not expressing any opinion. Why? Because you have not done any audit. Why? Because you are not able to obtain audit evidence. So you should mention that auditor was just engaged to audit the financial statements, but financial statements have not been audited. Hope that is clear. So those are the wordings of disclaimer of opinion. Next, basis for modification of opinion. Even the basically we have discussed that because of giving modification of opinion, 3 paragraphs will get affected. The first paragraph is opinion paragraph. How the opinion paragraph will get affected, we have seen just now. Okay, in case of qualified opinion, how it will get affected, how the wordings will change. In case of adverse, how the wordings will change. In case of disclaimer, how the wordings will change. The next paragraph that will get affected is basis for opinion paragraph, right? So the heading of the basis for opinion paragraph will change if you give modified opinion. How it will change? If you are giving qualified opinion, the heading will be like basis for qualified opinion. If you are giving adverse opinion, the heading will be like basis for adverse opinion. If you are giving disclaimer of opinion, the heading will be like basis for disclaimer of opinion. Okay, see, amend the heading basis for opinion as per SA 700 to following. What are they? Basis for qualified opinion, basis for adverse opinion, basis for disclaimer of opinion. Okay, like this you have to change the heading first of all. After that, include a description of the matter giving rise to modification. Okay, you have to clearly include why you are giving modified opinion. Okay, which matter has made the auditor to give qualified adverse or disclaimer of opinion, you have to clearly mention in the basis for opinion paragraph. Let me drink some water. Next, just now I have told you that you have to clearly mention why the auditor is giving qualified opinion, or why the auditor is giving adverse opinion, or why the auditor is giving disclaimer opinion. So how the auditor should mention, that will vary based on the misstatement. Let's see that. What should be included in the basis for opinion? Let's see. Okay, causes of modification. Okay, for this cause you have to, the description should be like this. For this cause, description should be like this. Okay, now let us see cause by cause. If you are giving modified opinion because of material misstatement related to specific amount in the financial statements. Okay, there is a material misstatement in a particular amount in the financial statements, because of which you are giving modified opinion. Then in the basis for modified opinion, you have to quantify the effect of that amount on the financial statements. Okay, because of that misstatement in the amount, how much amount is being affected, okay, on the financial statements, you have to quantify. If you are not able to quantify, you have to clearly specify why you are not able to quantify. Okay, see, description and quantification of effect of misstatement on the financial statements. If it is impracticable to determine and quantify, then state the fact why it is impossible to to quantify the effect. Okay, next, if you are giving modified opinion because of material misstatement related to narrative disclosures, then you have to explain how the disclosures are misstated. Okay, next, if material misstatement related to non-disclosure of information required to be disclosed. Okay, the applicable financial reporting framework asks to disclose particular item or particular disclosure, but in the financial statements such a disclosure is not there. Because of that, you are giving modified opinion. Then what should be included in the basis for opinion paragraph? See, discuss the non-disclosure with those charged with governance. First of all, you have to discuss with those charged with governance. Those charged with governance, in the applicable financial reporting framework, this disclosure has to be given, but in the financial statements, the disclosure is not given. Like this, you have to discuss the matter with those charged with governance. Then describe the nature of the omitted information. Okay, what is the nature of such omitted information? You need to clearly describe it in the basis for opinion paragraph. And if it is possible, since that matter is not disclosed in the financial statements, auditor can disclose that matter in the basis for opinion paragraph. Okay, whatever the matter has to be disclosed in the financial statements, that same point you can include in the basis for opinion paragraph, because it is not disclosed in the financial statements. Okay, if the law permits, you can do this also. See, unless prohibited by law or regulation, include the omitted disclosure if it is practicable to do so and the auditor has obtained sufficient appropriate audit evidence about the omitted information. Okay, next, if inability to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, then state the reason because of which you are not able to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Okay, so because of these reasons, this is how you have to include in the basis for opinion paragraph. Okay, next, exclusions from the basis from opinion paragraph. Okay, what should be excluded from the basis for opinion paragraph? Now, if you see in SA 700 series, we have discussed that 4 points should be mentioned in the basis for opinion paragraph. Okay, of those 4 points, if auditor expresses disclaimer of opinion, following 2 points should not be mentioned. What are they? Reference to auditor's responsibility paragraph is not required in the basis for opinion paragraph if you are giving disclaimer of opinion, and also statement about whether audit evidence obtained is sufficient and appropriate to provide basis for auditor's opinion is also not required. Okay, even this statement is also not required in the basis for opinion paragraph if you are giving disclaimer of opinion. Okay, the remaining points, that is, auditor has acted independently throughout the audit and complied with all the ethical requirements, that point you can mention, and also the audit has been conducted in accordance with the standards on auditing, even that point you can mention. Okay, except that points, remaining these 2 points you have to remove, you should not include. Okay, next, will there be any change in auditor's responsibility paragraph in case of modified opinion? Yes, there will be a change in the auditor's responsibility paragraph only when auditor disclaims the opinion. Okay, if auditor gives qualified opinion or adverse opinion, then there will not be any change in the auditor's responsibility. Okay, auditor's responsibility paragraph will be as it is, but if auditor disclaims the opinion, then auditor's responsibility paragraph will change. Okay, here he needs to mention that auditor was appointed to audit the financial statements, but he has not audited. See, yes, only when the auditor disclaims the opinion, auditor's responsibility paragraph has to be amended to include only following. What are they? Statement that auditor's responsibility is to conduct the audit. Okay, statement that because of a matter described for the disclaimer of opinion section, the audit was not able to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Okay, you have to mention that yes, my responsibility was to conduct the audit, but because of the matter that I have described in the basis for disclaimer of opinion, I was not able to conduct the audit because I was not able to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Okay, and the statement about auditor independence and other ethical responsibilities. Okay, you should also include the statement about your independence and your ethical responsibilities. Okay, this is how the auditor's responsibility paragraph will change only if you give disclaimer of opinion. Hope that is clear. Okay, so when auditor expresses qualified opinion or adverse opinion, only 2 paragraphs will get affected. What are they? Opinion paragraph and basis for opinion paragraph. But auditor expresses disclaimer of opinion, then apart from these 2 paragraphs, even auditor's responsibility paragraph will also get affected. Okay, we have discussed this while discussing the previous chart, right? The 4th or 5th chart, while discussing that we have seen this, right? Next, unless required by law or regulation, when auditor disclaims an opinion on the financial statements, you should not include key audit matter paragraph. Okay, if you are giving disclaimer of opinion, then in that audit report you should not include key audit matter paragraph. Okay, because when key audit matter paragraph will be included, first of all, what is key audit matter? Key audit matters are those matters that the auditor felt significant for the current period's audit. Now, when he is giving disclaimer of opinion, auditor has not at all obtained the audit evidence and auditor has not at all done the audit, then how can he give key audit matter paragraph? Okay, so if you are giving disclaimer of opinion paragraph, you should not give key audit matter paragraph until and unless required by law or regulation. Okay, see, you should also not give other matter paragraph, not other matter paragraph, other information as per SA 720. Okay, you should also not give your opinion or on other information as per SA 20 if you are as per SA 720 if you are giving disclaimer of opinion. Okay, next, management imposed a limitation after the auditor has accepted the engagement. See, after auditor has accepted the engagement, then management has imposed the limitation, saying that you should not obtain written confirmation from the debtors, you should not obtain written confirmation from the bank, you should not attend for physical verification of stock audit, stock, like this. The management is imposing limitations after auditor has accepted the engagement. In this situation, what the auditor has to do is, see, if limitation leads to auditor express qualified or disclaimer of opinion, request the management to remove the limitation. Okay, if this limitation leads the auditor to express qualified or disclaimer of opinion, then auditor should ask the management please remove this limitation. If management doesn't agree, you should intimate the same to those charged with governance, saying that asking those charged with governance to remove the limitation. If those charged with governance also doesn't agree, then you have to check whether you can obtain audit evidence by performing alternate procedures. See whether it is possible to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence through alternate procedures. If through alternate procedures also you are not able to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, see, unable to obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence through alternate procedures also, then if possible effects of undetected misstatements could be only material but not pervasive. See, in this situation, which opinion you will give? Okay, audit evidence not obtained. Misstatements, if any, could be material but not pervasive. You will give qualified opinion. See, qualified opinion. If misstatements, if any, could be both material as well as pervasive, then you will give disclaimer of opinion or you will withdraw from the engagement if it is possible. See, possible effects of undetected misstatements could be both material and pervasive. In such a situation, you will either withdraw if it is practicable or you will give disclaimer of opinion. Okay, if it is not practicable to withdraw, you will give disclaimer of opinion. Hope that is clear. Next, auditors withdrawal SEBI LODI regulation. See, now auditor of a listed entity, if he wants to withdraw from the engagement, he cannot withdraw just like that. SEBI has imposed a responsibility on that particular auditor if he wants to withdraw from the engagement. What is that responsibility? Let us say. See, if the auditor proposes to resign as an auditor of a listed entity and he proposes to resign within 45 days from the end of the quarter, in such a situation, before resigning, auditor has to give limited review report of that particular quarter. Okay, within 45 days of the end of the quarter, you wanted to resign, then you have to give limited review report of that particular quarter and resign. Next, if you have applied for resignation after 45 days from the end of the quarter, then you have to give limited review report of that quarter as well as the next quarter. Okay, of that quarter as well as next quarter. If you are resigning after you have conducted a limited review of first 3 quarters, then you can resign only after conducting limited review of 4th quarter as well as the financial audit of the complete financial year. See, after issuing limited review report of first 3 quarters, you have applied for resignation. In such a situation, you can resign only after providing limited review report of 4th quarter as well as the final audit report of the entire financial year. Okay, hope this is clear. By this, we have completed discussion of essay 705.